Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're viewing from. This is Laura Thompson, your friendly, fabulous, feisty, fierce, and phenomenal CEO and creator of TAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with the global reach, and you're tuned into the coffee break. And guess who I ran into all the way from New Zealand? She's joining me for the coffee break. Miss Patricia Backley. So how you doing, Patricia?
Hi, Laura. I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. And everybody, when we say we have a local feel with a global reach, we really do have a global reach today because we're talking to Patricia all the way from New Zealand. So we're so happy and excited to be able to speak with you. So what time is it in New Zealand?
It's midday on Saturday, so I'm a day ahead of you. I'm in the future already.
Wow. And we were talking offline and you said it's winter there
Yes, it
already?
is. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing for the weather to be different in different
Mm.
parts of the world. So I am super excited to have you on today to talk about the Warrior Women Project. But before we start talking about that, I want to ask you to give us a little biographical information about you, like who you are, what you do, where you're from, what you do before you co-author the Warrior Women Project, and all those good things.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Well, stop me if I get carried away because I have been known to talk too much.
Well, that's okay. It's a talk
Basically,
show.
yeah, not with a limited time span, I think. Um, my name is Pat Backley. You can probably tell by my accent that I'm English. I lived in England for the first 59 years of my life, and then I moved to New Zealand. I emigrated here with my husband and my almost 16-year-old daughter. So she's an only child, so it was a big ask for her, but she coped really well. Um, I don't want to tell you too much about my life per se, because I've just published my memoirs. So I'd quite like it if people were interested enough to go and buy them. So I won't
Wow.
give too many spoilers, but I have had a very fascinating life. Not just England. I lived for 2 years in another country, and that started my whole travel dreaming kind of person I was. So anyway, I came to New Zealand. I've had lots and lots of highs and lows, as lots of people do in their life. And 2 years ago, we went into lockdown, or almost 2 years, on my 69th birthday here in
Wow.
New Zealand. I was all alone, um, and my daughter was living in England, and my husband was there as well. And I was pretty fed up. So I just got a chocolate brownie, stuck a candle in it, went and sat in the garden and sang happy birthday to myself. And then spent the next few weeks of lockdown just feeling really quite miserable, which is not the kind of person I am. I'm usually very sunny and optimistic. I felt very miserable. I was just lying on the sofa watching rubbish on Netflix and eating far too much chocolate. And then one day I just thought, for goodness sake, Pat, this is ridiculous. Just get a grip. Why don't you write a book? So that was that. So I wrote this book called
Oh,
Daisy,
wow.
which
Wow.
was hugely exciting. So that was published in October last year. Um, and that was kind of what started me into the Warrior Woman project thing, because this book is, it's a novel and it's a historical family saga, but it spans 100 years and touches on things like racism and slavery and poverty, and intertwines different families. It's based in Alabama, Harlem, and
Wow.
London. So through the kind of networks of all this modern technology, I met Dr. Lulu, who had just published her book about how to teach your children about racism. I think that's the title. And
Hmm.
so we got talking because obviously we knew there was a common thread. And she said to me, I'm thinking of writing a book about immigrant women. Would you be interested in co-authoring it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So that one book I published started the whole thing rolling, really. And yeah, life is just wonderful. So I've since published my memoirs as well. So I've now published 3 books, and just last night I sent the draft of my sequel to Daisy off to my editor in the States. So that will be a 4th book in a year. So it's
Wow.
hugely exciting for somebody who had never written a book before.
Wow. So what did you do before you wrote books? You had
Oh,
a
I just have had many careers. I grew up in a very ordinary, quite poor family. So going on to university was never an option for me. I just left school at 16, went to work in the bank, spent 10 years there, got married, blah, 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 blah. And then I've just kind of had various careers according to where I've been at the time. So I worked for a couple of big charities. I worked for Barnardo's and Cancer Research after I left the bank. I had my own business a couple of times with husbands. I no longer have the husbands or the businesses. And, and I've done childcare and, oh, just lots. I've kind of just done whatever needed to be done at the time, really. So always, I've never done what I really wanted to do. I've always enjoyed what I've done because that's my nature,
Mm.
to make the best of things. But this new career is my passion. I absolutely love it. It's made me so happy. And I'm going to write until I die now. That's my plan.
Wow. Well, you seem feel very cheery and filled with joy, and that color yellow really makes you stand out. The color of your book is yellow. So, is there any particular reason why you picked yellow as the color?
Absolutely not at all. No, it's not even one of my favorite colours, really. But when I was writing the Daisy book, I didn't even know what I was going to call it. I just knew the general theme that I wanted to write about. And it just came to me one day. Yeah, a flash of inspiration from up there, probably. So, yeah.
Wow. So it's a beautiful color and it really stands out again. It goes with your personality.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
so can you tell us just a little tidbit about what Daisy is all about and why
Yes,
you
of
wrote it?
course. It I think from a very young girl, I was very aware that I was very lucky compared to a lot of people in the world. I've always been a great reader. So when I was quite small, I read things like Uncle Tom's Cabin and stuff like that. So I was always very aware, although I grew up in a predominantly white, well, it was completely white neighborhood almost all my life when I was young. I was always very aware that there were other ways that people lived in the world. And I always had a passion to travel and see it and experience it for myself. Um, I've realized that all the writing I do is very much, it's very much my own feelings, my own views and beliefs coming through in my writing. And because I love people, I've probably over the years have, without realizing it, I've studied their personalities. So when I start to write, I find that all these people suddenly appear that they're just obviously an amalgam of people and experiences I've had over the years. So basically, Daisy is about 2 quite distinctive families. One is a young man who grows up on his family own a cotton plantation in Alabama. The other one is a young girl who is born illegitimately in the slums of London. They don't get together, so it's not kind of, that's nothing to do with it, but that just sets the background for the 2 stories, and then over 100 years how those families interweave.
Hmm. Wow. So so you're writing a sequel to that.
I just
That's
just
it.
finished it last night and sent it off to my editor, so I'm very happy to have finished it. Yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Mm.
So so you ran into Dr. Lulu. So how'd you meet Dr. Lulu?
Just
What?
online,
Wow.
just literally online. We just kind of commented on each other's books because we both published about the same time, and the conversation just went on from there. And I guess she could see that I was a kindred spirit. I think you can tell even just in, just in a very short meeting, can't you?
Hmm.
So
Wow.
I was very honoured to be invited to join her project. And she will tell you herself, for a few months, I kept saying, "Oh, are you really sure I'm good enough for this? All you other ladies are doing my part." because most of the others are very high-powered doctors, or and so for a while I didn't feel I was quite good enough, but they all reassured me. And in fact, at one time, it turned out that we had to have official photographs taken for our book, because the book is very beautiful. It's got lots of lovely photos in.
Mm.
And I nearly pulled out of the project because I loathe having my photograph taken. And I said to them, no, I can't do this. You're all young and beautiful. I mean, I'm old enough to be their mother, their grandmother, some of them. I said, no, I don't think I want to do this. But they all said, we had a little Zoom meeting, and they all said, Pat, don't be ridiculous. Just slap on some red lipstick and some high heels and you'll be fine. So they're
Wow.
very, it was very encouraging. I went off and had my photo shoot. And actually, Laura, I loved it. After 3 hours, I'm kind of going, oh, yeah, I can do this.
So you said, I'm a model. I'm a model now.
So,
So,
doing the book has not only given me 21 new friends, but it's also given me a whole new life, really,
wow,
which
wow.
yeah.
And you have your red fingernail polish on, your bright yellow, your red lipstick. You just ready to go. You bob, your English accent. So you're ready to go. And you're in New Zealand, so who could ask for more? So so with your book, you wrote the book. So what do you plan to do? You just gonna try to sell the book, or you gonna go speak, or what are you
um,
gonna?
do you mean the warrior women?
Yes, or your book. We're gonna talk
Oh,
about the Warrior Woman in a minute. Yeah.
okay. Well, my book, yes, both my books are actually doing really well on Amazon, which is great.
Wow.
So that's very exciting. Uh, And what I've done, Laura, is for the duration of COVID, I've kept the price of the ebooks at just 99 cents, the paperbacks some more, but the ebooks at 99 cents, because I haven't done this whole writing thing to make heaps of money. I've done it because I've needed to. It's obviously I feel like somebody's taken the top of my head off, and 70 years worth of words are just flying out.
Wow.
So for me, it's not about the money. So I'm keeping the price of the ebook at 99 cents so that more people can read it, hopefully, because at the moment people haven't got heaps of money. So, and I think probably for all the books I write in the future, I'll do the same, because then if people want the actual physical book, they can buy it, but otherwise just on their laptop. So a lot of the marketing is done that way. I do talks at book clubs and things like that, and women's groups. The local newspapers have done articles on me and things like
Wow.
that. So it's very exciting. It's just a very exciting new chapter in my life, just when I needed it, because to be honest, 3 years ago my life was a bit of a shambles. So
Wow.
this is perfect. Perfect.
Wow. So I can tell you're just bubbling over with joy.
Yeah.
So you're in the Women's Warrior Project book. So how do you feel about that? I know that you said you connected with Dr. Lulu online, and you got encouraged and inspired, and so the rest is history. So what can you tell us a little bit about what you wrote about and what people can expect?
Yes, of course. I wrote about how I started as a child, and I had big dreams, but no way of ever imagining that I would ever foresee those dreams. And then when I was a little snippet, when I was 25, I was given the opportunity to go to the Fiji Islands for 2 years, which is the furthest away from England that you can possibly get. And of course, is very exotic. And I was just so excited. And that really started me off on this absolute need to see more of the world, to live somewhere else. I have my Fiji is my spiritual home. I have a very big extended family there. And of course, until COVID, I was able to go over 4 or 5 times a year and see
Wow.
them. And it's only 3 hours to fly there from New Zealand. So that was another big draw for me of coming to live in New Zealand. The fact that I could go and be with all my Fijians whenever I wanted to, really.
Wow. And you said how many miles away was it?
Well, do you mean Fiji from England or Fiji from New Zealand?
From New Zealand. Where were you flying from?
Oh, from when I flew from London to New Zealand, that's obviously 24 hours. But
Oh, okay.
flying from New Zealand to Fiji is only 3 hours. So it's
Oh,
obviously
wow, wow, wow. That's really close. That's really close. So that's exciting, huh? So you have one daughter?
one daughter. And when COVID broke out, she was still living in London, which was awful. But she came home for good in November. So she's here now. She was away for 5 years,
Wow.
um, which was hard. But she's home now. She's got a good job. She's got a very nice man. And she's going to stay. So all's good in my world.
Hey, that's great. So you're going to be having a book launch for
Yes,
the Warrior Women Project. So
yes,
how's that going?
in just 3 days' time. So I'm very excited. I've booked a very nice hotel and it's an invitation only, very nice event. And we've got some media coming and lots of really nice people. So yeah, and I've got big pictures of all the other 21 ladies that we're putting up onto a big screen
Oh,
with
wow.
with, with quotes, their quotes from the book. So it's going to be lovely. So the whole evening that will be running. So everyone will see my ladies, not just, I mean, obviously I'll talk, but they can see my ladies as well. So
Wow. So the Warrior Women Project is a global project, I guess you
absolutely.
could say. And so
Yes.
you have women from all over the world
You
talking
do.
about the same book
Yeah.
from a different perspective, from their perspective. And so that's going to draw a lot of different types of people
I
to
think
read
so.
the
Yes.
book.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but it is a fabulous book. It really is. It's just very inspiring. I mean, obviously, I knew snippets of all the latest stories, but when I had to wait for weeks to get my copy.
Hmm.
Because in New Zealand it takes forever for things to be shipped. So I didn't get
Wow.
mine for a whole month after the other ladies, which was really frustrating because they'd all come online with their books and I couldn't. But when I got mine, it was just hugely exciting. But I already knew snippets of their stories. But when I actually got my copy and I sat down and read them in depth, I was just in tears. I mean, some of the stories are incredibly moving because the common bond we all have is that A, we're all women, so
Hmm.
we experience the same kind of things. But yeah, we're just all kindred spirits in a way, really. And everyone's been very vulnerable in this book. We've
Hmm.
all spoken our truths, really. Not really glossed over stuff. So yeah, it's really fascinating reading. I'm just looking forward to lots of people reading it. I did send a copy. I've got a very dear friend in London, a very handsome, younger black man, that I met a few years ago. He's an ex-dancer and he's fabulous. And I sent him a copy in the mail. And
Wow.
he sent me a message the day he got it, and said he didn't even make his coffee. He just sat down and read my story first and then a few of the others. And he said he was
Wow.
really moved. And he's
Wow.
a big tough guy in his 50s. So, if it makes
Wow.
people like that think, then I think it's, yeah, going to
Hmm.
touch a lot of lives, I think.
And especially from a male perspective, that's a
Exactly.
different point of view. And
Well,
some.
it was very interesting, Laura, because he immigrated to England when he was 7, I think 7, and he actually came to our official virtual launch that we had in the States a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
He just came and listened, and he sent me a message afterwards, and he said, "Pat, that was really interesting listening to you ladies." He said, "It's making me realize what my mum must have gone through when she emigrated to England with me and my brothers."
Mhm.
So it's kind of making people think outside of the box, because he's always been a bit scathing about, oh, my mum this, my mum that. Whereas now he's actually seeing it from a female point of view, which I think
Wow.
is, yeah. I mean, our aim is really, if we can just encourage one young girl or woman to think big by reading our stories, to realize that it doesn't matter how your life starts, you can change it. You've
Hmm.
got some control. So,
Hmm. And that there will be some ups and downs and
exactly.
tosses and turns and
Yeah.
curves and curveballs and fastballs and all of
Yep.
that. But it's all worth it. You just have to keep going.
Absolutely, just keep going. Yeah.
Wow. So this is exciting. It's you are tuned into the Coffee Break on TAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with a global region. We're here with the fabulous author of Daisy and co-author of the Warrior Woman Project, Miss Patricia Backley. She's in New Zealand, y'all. It's winter there, and it's I'm in San Antonio, and it feels like 110 today. But she said it's chilly there. It's a little rainy, but it's winter already there. So they're like ahead of us by a season. So well, two seasons, right? Because fall comes and then
Yes.
winter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So 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 what's next? Um,
What's next? Well, as I say, I just sent my draft of my sequel to Daisy off last night to the editor, and I'm just so excited about that. That's why I keep repeating it, because when you write a book, you get so involved in it, and then suddenly it's
mhm,
done.
mhm.
Uh, but I already have on my notice board masses of notes for my next novel, which is going to be called George Valentine, and that's going to be another historic family saga,
Wow. Wow.
loosely based on my maternal grandfather, who was actually his Christian names were George Valentine. So he had a very interesting life. So I think, Laura, I have this thing that when we die, our stories die with us. And that's really sad, because so
Mhm.
many people in the world have had fascinating lives.
Mhm.
So what I've realized I'm going to be doing with my books is I'm going to be drawing from people I know, people who've been part of my life or just fleetingly in my life, and weaving stories around them, kind of telling their stories. Like my maternal grandfather, I was a child. You don't listen to your grandparents apart from
Right.
death. So I only know tidbits about his life, but I'm going to use those to weave a story. There will be a lot of truth in it, but obviously a lot of it will just be fiction. But I think that's what I want to do now. I want to give my ancestors a voice, because
Mhm.
they had no voice, and everyone's stories deserve to be told, don't they?
Mhm. And their stories are told through you, the parts that impacted you, the things that they said to you that impacted your life. So
Yes.
their stories are being told through you.
Yeah.
How do people get your book if they
Um,
want to get Daisy and the Warrior Woman group?
Okay, well, the best place, obviously, probably to go to check up the full names and things is my website, which is www.patbackley.com.
Okay.
Um, or they could just type in Pat Backley on Amazon or somewhere, and then all my books come up. And the Warrior Women, obviously, that's available in Barnes and Noble. I'm just holding it up because it's good publicity. Barnes and Noble, Amazon, obviously, Walmart, and basically any good online retailer will have it. And I think in San Antonio, a lot of the bookshops there, a lot of the Barnes and Nobles actually have it in stock, which is great. And I think a lot of other cities in the States. And hopefully after our launch here next Wednesday, some of the New Zealand bookshops will also have it. That's my master plan.
Wow. Wow. Well, once they see that book, they'll want to put it on the shelf.
I think so.
That's a
I think
book to put on the shelf on display, on a special
yes,
display.
yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
so your book Daisy. So uh, have you sold that book in different countries or just in New Zealand?
Yes. No, it's been sold in different countries. Japan, France, Canada, Australia,
Wow.
obviously the States. Um, I was just a little worried about the States, because obviously I talk about Alabama and Harlem, both of which places I've been to, but only as a visitor. So I was just a little bit worried that I might not have got things right. And I'm particularly talking, just touching a little bit on the whole slavery and racism stuff. I was
Hmm.
very anxious. But in fact, I've had wonderful responses from a lot of Black African Americans who have said, absolutely great, got it right. It's just, yeah.
So do you think history is subjective or objective?
You said you weren't going to ask any hard questions.
Well, I'll give
I
you.
I think that history, as it's being told in those particular circumstances, has been very biased. I think that
Mm,
needs to be redressed. Yeah, the same here with the Maori thing. You know, over the years, there's been one perspective put on it, and that's now coming a bit full circle, which is right.
mhm.
And
Well,
I think, Laura, in some way, that's probably from deep inside
mm,
why I felt I wanted to write about it. Because obviously, for a white woman to write about those things is probably not the most sensible thing to do, but because I feel so strongly that we are all absolutely equal in this world,
mhm,
whether we're rich
mhm,
or poor, black or white, I think somehow I want to get that across in my writing.
mhm,
And obviously, you know, by dressing it up as a novel, you can kind of say exactly what you think. Um,
mhm.
yeah.
And it's commendable and courageous for you to have that point of view and to have such a neutral and objective point of view about something that's really important in this day and time. It's always been important, but it's kind of come to the forefront where those opportunities to speak up about it, no matter what race you are,
Mm,
I think it's important, and it's received well. And if it comes from you, then your peers will read it and say, "Okay, okay, I can see that."
yes.
Opposed to it coming from someone that's possibly been a victim of and on the other side. So
Yes.
you're given a different perspective. That's why I asked you if you felt history was objective or subjective. I think it's subjective.
Mm,
And the reason why I think that is because when something happens, more than one person is involved. We seem to highlight a specific person in history, but everybody lives through that same time and experiences different things in history, and that's why I believe it's subjective.
yeah.
There are some facts, but individual people experience things just like people that are highlighted
Yeah.
and put in the limelight experience them, and then those are facts as well. So
Mm.
I commend you
Thank
for
you. That's
you know
kind of you. Thank you.
being bold to write a novel that kind of explains your perspective about racism. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
a big deal.
it's something, Laura, I feel very strongly about. I mean, having lived as as a colonial, if you like, in 1976 in Fiji, I was only 25 years old, and I was horrified at the way white colonial women treated the people who were helping them in their houses. I mean, I was 25 years old. I was very young and naive. I'd come from a loving family environment where we had no money, but we were very loving. And suddenly I was thrust into this society where all these people thought they were so superior just because of the color of their skin.
Hmm.
And at 25, I just thought that was truly disgusting. So it's always been there. And now, as a 70-year-old woman who writes books, I've got the freedom to say what I like, really, which is a
Right.
wonderful, wonderful thing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I think that if we feel strongly about something, we have a duty
yeah,
to speak up and say something about it. So
yeah.
um, that's commendable. And the title Daisy, you would never expect if I was thinking, what is this book about by the title, I wouldn't think it was about
No,
racism.
no, no. I do put a little disclaimer on the back because most of the reviews I've had are really good, but there have been a couple from people in the States, and I can imagine the kind of people um, who don't like the topic, or part of the topic. It's not the whole topic, but on the back. So on the back, I just put a little disclaimer that says it incorporates some of the evils of society, like poverty, racism, and snobbery, as well as some. So I kind of put that on, and then on the front cover, the quote from the book is, "The life you are born into is an accident of birth. how you live that life is what really matters. And that's something I absolutely believe.
Wow. Well, my first book is a book of poetry, and I always write about it's about it's subtle classism.
Mm,
It talks about different classes of people, but it's subtle, and
mm,
it's fun, but it makes you think. Um,
mm. Oh, I'd love to
the,
read it. Perhaps you could
it's
send me a link.
okay. It's called
Mm,
Beneath the Mask, um,
oh, okay.
and so I'll send you a link.
Yes, please do. I'd love to read it. That sounds really good. I think for me, this whole warrior women thing has opened up a whole new world, which is truly wonderful. You know, I'm getting to meet, I mean, in the ordinary course of events, I would never have met any of the ladies. I would never
Hmm.
have met Dr. Lulu. And so my whole world is much bigger now. And we're a real sisterhood. We talk about everything. We're like sisters. Sometimes we,
Hmm.
you know, argue, and mostly we're very supportive of each other.
And that's
And
okay. Yeah.
yeah, it's just really lovely, and it's all done virtually. Most of us have never met in person.
Well,
Um, so
I think I've gotten to know people better virtually because I'm very observant, so I can
yeah,
read their mannerisms and their facial expressions and their just body language. So I've gotten to know people a lot better
yes,
because your guard is not up. It's just like you're just here
absolutely,
talking.
yes, that's right.
So this has been a great conversation. I have really enjoyed speaking with you and learning about your book and your new adventures and your new ventures, and I wish you continued success on the two books that you've already written and contributed to, and your new upcoming book. So if people want to get in touch with you, I know you said that your website is www.pat
Back,
Backley,
yes,
Backley.com.
yeah.
And so you can learn all about, well, not all about it. You have to buy her books to learn all about her. But
Thank you.
if you want to learn some little tidbits about her before you buy the book, then you go to www.patbackley.com. So you have been tuned into the Coffee Break on TAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel with the global reach. And we're super excited to have had you on the show, Pat, and look forward to learning more about you in your books.
Thank you so much, Laura. It's been an absolute joy. I've loved talking to you. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I hope to see you again sometime.
You will, you will. I'll look you up and we'll get back on and have some more fun and have another coffee break.
Thank you so much. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. You have a good
Bye.
evening. Bye bye. Or good morning or afternoon.
Yes, afternoon. Thank
Right.
you.